Hey, all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to another TNI news video as we recap the news for the week ending on Sunday, August 17th. And we've got a lot to cover today, so let's jump right into it. So, probably one of the cooler stories from this past week comes from Boss Fight Studio, where they announced some new Garfield 2-packs. So you may recall that they had a wave of Garfield figures, and these stand around 4 to 5 inches tall. And with these new 2-packs, we are getting themed 2-packs. One is based on the Garfield cartoon Halloween special.
I don't have charm or much pizzazz. I don't chase mice and all that jazz. I may be sassy, yes, and all of that, but the one thing I'm not, yeah, the one thing I'm not, I say the one thing I'm not is a scaredy.
So this features Garfield and his buddy Odie in their costumes that they wore in that episode. Garfield was dressed as a pirate, and Odie was his sidekick, of course. And they went around trick-or-treating and getting into all kinds of trouble. And then probably the more interesting of the two packs, even though the Halloween episode was very cool, but the second one is based on a one-page comic where Garfield and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cross over. So this was printed back in the early 90s in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle magazine, which I think only ran for like a year in 1992. I think it had like 13 issues printed. But in the magazine, in one of the issues of that magazine, there was a one-page comic where Garfield essentially sneaks into the turtle lair trying to steal their pizza. He's dressed as a turtle, and he goes by the name of Garfello, and his weapon of choice is the pizza cutter, of course. And then Odie joins him and has his costume on backwards. And when the turtles see that, they realize that they're imposters and kick him out of the lair, so that Garfield is deprived of his pizza. So it's a funny story. Again, just one page comic that appeared years ago. But what makes this even more interesting is Boss Fight Studio is not the only company doing figures based on this comic. We saw at San Diego Comic-Con that NECA is also doing a Odie Garfield set for their Turtle line, very similar to what we're seeing here with Boss Fight Studio. Now, I don't know how NECA plans to release their Garfield figure and Odie set. I don't know if it'll be, again, this wasn't part of the cartoon, so I don't know if this will fall under the comics, at which point this will probably be, NECA's will be carried places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, or if they will jam it in with the cartoon stuff and end up being a Target store exclusive. But with the Boss Fight Studio figures, those are now available for pre-order. You can pre-order both of their sets, the Halloween costume set and then the Turtle crossover set, at places like our sponsors Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. And these sets are going to cost you around the neighborhood of $50 each, and they're supposed to be out in June of next year. Now, keeping it with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, also from NECA Toys, we are expected to get some more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure pre-orders sometime this coming week. I don't have any specifics yet, but these will be part of their Mirage Comics line, figures like Raphael as Shredder and Cyborg Donatello. So we saw these on display at San Diego Comic-Con. And again, we should be seeing these go up sometime this coming week for pre-order. And then also, having gone up for pre-order at places like our sponsor Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth are the Ultimate Body Count Casey Jones, the Cry Mercenary figure, and the Lost Years Night Watcher April O'Neil figure. So these three figures had previously been available only on the NECA store, but now, again, you can get them at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. And then one final bit of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle news I wanted to share with you guys comes from Mondo Toy. So this is another one of their vinyl figures. We saw this on display at San Diego Comic-Con. It is based on the Slash character. So again, this is part of their soft vinyl line. And this will be going up on the Mondo website this coming week on August 19th. I don't have any pricing information for you yet, but again, mark your calendars for August 19th. And again, this will be offered on the Mondo shop website. Now, while we're on the subject of Mondo, let's also talk a little bit about Funko, some financial news for you guys. Last week, Funko, which of course is the parent company of Mondo, they own Mondo, but last week they gave their second quarter financial reporting for the year, and it wasn't looking too good. They reported a $41 million loss. But on a bright side, they also announced that they have finally hired a permanent CEO. They had been using interim CEO since July of 2023. But the new CEO, his name is Josh Simon, and he comes from Netflix. Previously, it also worked at places like Disney and Nike. So he seems to have a fair amount of experience. Again, he has now been hired as the permanent CEO for Funko. He starts his job September 1st, and we'll see if he can get things going in a positive direction for the company. All right, now let's jump over to McFarlane Toys. And last week, we saw a couple of new DC Multiverse pre-orders. So going up for pre-order last week as McFarlane Store exclusives were the Mr. Bones and Obsidian from Infinity Incorporated number 16. Now these figures include lithographs. The figures separately are $27.99, or you can do the bundle at a discount at $47.58. And again, these two figures are gold label figures being offered, at least here in the United States, exclusively on the McFarlane Store website. For those of you in Canada, you can also get these at EB Games, and there is actually a Mr. Bones McFarlane autographed exclusive version only offered at EB Games, again, for those of you in Canada. And last time I checked, that was still available for pre-order. Also having gone up for pre-order last week was that Batmobile from the 2022 Pattinson Batman movie, so the muscle car. This is available again as a McFarlane Store exclusive. Well, primarily McFarlane Store. Amazon did actually offer this vehicle as well, but it quickly sold out. So for the most part, I would consider this a McFarlane Store exclusive. That's how it was billed, though again, Amazon actually did carry this briefly. The cost of this is $79.99. Last week I speculated that I thought maybe the price was going to be $99. That's what I had heard from Toy Fair, but it looks like it is a little bit lower again at $79.99. Remember, no figure is included with this particular vehicle. Storm Collectibles has a new arena figure that's available for pre-order at places like our sponsor Big Bad Toy Store. This one is based on the Netflix anime series that goes by the name of Baki Hanma. I've never watched it myself. But again, this is a arena figure. It only costs about $29.99, which for a Storm Collectible figure is on the cheap side. And as I said, it is available for pre-order now. For you Hot Toy fans, we've got a new DC Arkham Knight Nightwing figure that here in the United States is being sold as a Sideshow exclusive. It is available for pre-order now. You can pre-order on the Sideshow website for $280. The figure includes multiple versions of his Eskrima sticks, extended and non-extended versions. You also get some electricity effects that you can attach to those weapons. You get a grapple gun with grapple. You also get multiple pairs of hands. And like with all Hot Toy figures, you also get a figure stand. So as I said, here in the United States, this is being offered as a Sideshow exclusive and available for pre-order now. On the Marvel front, we've got another 2-pack going up for pre-order this week. We had last week the X-Men 97 2-pack with the Gambit and Rogue. And last time I checked, that was still available. This week, it is the X-Men 97 2-pack featuring the brown costume Wolverine and Storm in her classic outfit. Again, that will be a Pulse exclusive going up on the 20th, 1 p.m. for premium members, 2 p.m. for everybody else. So if you want to add that to your collection, again, the 20th is your date. We should be getting Marvel Legend reveals this coming weekend. But I actually, I'm slipping this in. This is technically this week's news, but it's breaking, so I'm going to squeeze it in here.
Iron Man, the time has come for you to feel the great power of the Mandarin. You will not escape, for I have vowed to destroy you.
We have a new Amazon exclusive 2-pack that was just revealed featuring Iron Man and the Mandarin. So this is Invincible Iron Man and Mandarin 2-pack, comic book based multiple heads. $49.99 is the price on this one, and it's supposed to be going up for pre-order also this week on the 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So this will be an Amazon exclusive. This is brand new reveal. I'm slipping it in here, even though this is a recap for last week. I am going to go on and put this in there now. You get Iron Man with an unmasked head, but not. He's still got the inner mask portion of his helmet on, which is kind of interesting. He gets repulsors, multiple pairs of hands. The Mandarin has 2 different heads, has some effect pieces and multiple pairs of hands. So, but this is, more of a modern Mandarin wearing the suit as opposed to the classic comic costume. But like I say, interesting that they're doing this. Now, I do expect there should be possibly more reveals this weekend because Hasbro is going to be attending the Canadian Fan Expo, and there's supposed to be a panel on August 23rd at 11 a.m., which will be featuring Marvel and Star Wars. So I'm not expecting much. With the Star Wars, the focus is going to be showing off the Pulse Haslab, the Gunship, and then I don't know what they're going to be doing for Marvel. Maybe showing off this 2-pack. It's Canadian, so a lot of times at these Canadian conventions, they like to show off, Canadian-based characters, which would include, say, Deadpool. So possibly we could see the Maximum Deadpool figure officially revealed. We got the dupe teaser at San Diego Comic-Con, so that I could definitely see getting revealed. Also, strangely enough, and this was completely random by Dan Young from Hasbro back on August 8th, he just posted up an image of this Inhumans, the Inhumans 2-pack with Crystal and Lockjaw. And with the caption, I'm just saying. So I don't know if he was trying to hint to something. There have been rumors of a new Inhuman 2-pack coming, featuring updated Black Bolt and the character Triton. So maybe that's something that could get revealed. I don't know. Again, Canadian conventions, they often like to reveal Canadian characters. So I am thinking Deadpool, Maximum Deadpool is definitely something they could show. Whether they show anything else beyond that, I don't know. It's not like a full on where the entire Hasbro Marvel Legend brand team will be there. Basically, Steve Evans is there. I believe Emily will be there. But the focus is the Disney brands with Star Wars and Marvel. So, I don't think there'll be any G.I. Joe or Transformer presence at this convention. And then finally, for this week, we're going to finish off with some crowdsourcing news. We've got multiple companies doing multiple crowdsources. So first of all, with Mattel, just an update on that one. It is getting very, very close to its minimum funding goal. This is for the Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Lair playset that we've already talked about several times. So the 14th was the cutoff date for those wanting to add the early bird option of the Lady Slither snake lower body, the skeletal lower body that is in the snake form. Now, I may have misspoken about this. I got a little confused on how Mattel is handling their early bird figures. So just to clarify, basically anyone who funded the campaign by the end of the 14th, assuming that the campaign does reach its minimum funding goal, which I feel pretty confident because, again, we're less than 100 to go as I'm filming this to get to that minimum 6,000 backers needed for this to go into production. So anyone who backed the campaign basically by the end of the 14th will get that early bird. Anyone who backs the campaign after the 14th, so basically from here on out until the campaign ends, which will be August 28th, you will not get that early bird. I'm used to when the early bird is in order for it to be included, it has to reach the goal, the stated goal, which in this case is the minimum funding goal. And then if it doesn't reach that goal, then the early bird's just not included for anybody. But if it does, then everybody gets it regardless of when you back it. I'm not a fan of the early birds in general because I think they have more of a negative effect on these campaigns than a positive one. regardless of which way you do it. If you do it the way I thought they were doing it, where if it didn't reach its minimum funding goal by the 14th, nobody got the early bird stretch goal, then people get upset and they're like, oh, well, we're getting less. But even if you're doing it like Mattel is doing it, where they're going to give it to everybody who funded it by the 14th, then that slows down any momentum that you might have had. And this campaign was picking up momentum on that last day on the 14th, where it almost got to the minimum funding goal. But now you've got where people are going to be like, well, I'm not going to get the early bird, so I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth and I'm not going to fund it. So I really don't, I'm not a huge fan of these early bird options that Mattel seems to like to do. I think it would be better if they just included that piece for everybody, assuming it reaches its minimum funding goal. But again, that's how Mattel is doing it. So those who backed it up to the 14th, including the 14th, will get that piece. Everyone afterwards, assuming the campaign does reach its minimum funding goal, which I'm, again, like I say, I feel pretty confident will happen, then anyone who funds it after the 14th will not get that part. Now, you will get the Lady Slither with the legs. Everybody will get that. You will get the Chimera two-headed horse. Everybody will get that, regardless of when you back the campaign. And then we still have the one stretch goal for this campaign, which is for the Priest Pythonus figure. And that will only be included if the campaign reaches 8,000 backers. And I got to be honest, I mean, we might get a huge boost at the very end, like on the last day. So I'm not going to completely rule it out. But right now, as slow as it's going, again, I definitely feel like it will reach its minimum funding goal, but that it will reach that stretch goal for the Pythonus. And I believe they're crowdsourcing last year, or their last Masters of the Universe campaign. I forget if that was last year or the year before, but I believe it also failed to reach its stretch goal. So we may see the same thing here, where the Pythonus figure ends up not being included. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, we're getting down to it. August 28th is the final day that you can back this campaign. And so if you want to add this to your collection, I would say go on and do it. But, we'll have to see how it goes. Now, besides Mattel having their crowdsourcing campaign, Hasbro has had two, we're now down to one active campaign. The G.I. Joe Classified Snowcat Haslab ended last week, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I just want to update you on their one that is currently still going, started during San Diego Comic-Con for the Star Wars Vintage Collection Republic Gunship. That has, as I'm filming this, over 21 days to go. It has not yet reached its halfway point for its minimum funding goal. It's at 3,356 out of the 8,000 that it needs, the minimum funding goal that it needs to go into production. Now, Steve Evans, as I mentioned previously, is going to have this on display at the Canadian Fan Expo, which will be on the 23rd. He's also going to be taking it at some places. One place he's not yet announced, someplace on this coming Tuesday on the 19th, where they're going to be showing it. So top secret according to Steve Evans. But the other one is Red 5 Toys and Collectibles in Massachusetts. That'll be on display there on 8:30. So Steve, I don't know. I feel like the Fan Expo I totally get. Taking it around to local toy stores or whatever, I don't know. That maybe gives the feeling of a little desperation. But with the Star Wars, even though we're not halfway to the minimum funding goal, you're going to get an even bigger boost at the end than like you saw with G.I. Joe, because you're going to get more in the way of international orders likely than you do with G.I. Joe, which doesn't have as much of an international presence. So, but on the Star Wars, again, I'm not going to say, because I've seen these campaigns get such big boosts at the end, I'm not going to say this isn't going to fund, but is definitely seemingly struggling a bit. And, so we'll just have to see where that one ends up at. But finally, for today, I wanted to just share with you guys, and if you back this campaign, I'm sure you're already well aware, but last week, the G.I. Joe Haslab campaign ended, and it was fully successful. And when I say fully, I mean it met its minimum funding goal. So the Snowcat and the Frostbite figure are moving into production. But then all three stretch goals ended up getting unlocked as well. So the final tally for this campaign looks like was 16,437. We started with the minimum funding goal of 8,000. Then we had the first stretch goal at 10,000 for the Lady J figure. The second stretch goal for the Bivouac was unlocked at 12,000. And then the final stretch goal at 14,000 was unlocked for the Arctic Flint. Now, both Flint and the Bivouac didn't unlock until like the final day. But again, it did unlock all three stretch goals and then some. So probably not quite as successful a campaign as like with the Rattler or even the Dragonfly and the Hiss Tank. But then, the Snowcat is a little more unique vehicle. It's an Arctic vehicle. It's just not as well known as those others. So, I think Hasbro's probably pretty happy with the results of this campaign. Again, that all the stretch goals were met and unlocked. I definitely know people who backed the campaign are happy so that they'll get both figures and that Bivouac. Now, a couple of things I wanted to touch upon. They had a live stream on the last day of this campaign where they actually gave some new details I don't think they had revealed before about the Snowcat. So I just wanted to share those with you. And the big one is that it looks like the Snowcat will have a USB-C port.
How will the lights be powered? And is there an opportunity for an always-on connection option like USB?
Indeed.
Yes.
I like the way you think, bud.
Yes.
So I'm just going to show everybody. I'm afraid to tilt it.
Here, got it.
But so on the bottom, there's a on-off. I don't know if you guys can see that. And we're going to put a USB-C plug.
USB-C, yeah.
So when you hit that button, it turns on. So you can put it down a little bit.
And then, these are just like technological advances that we have made in the last
the
couple of
electronics
years.
team is incredible.
It's really cool. So it's not a charging option, but if you would like to have the lights on all the time, there will be you could plug it in
Like a
from
lamp.
a USB-C and basically have it be a lamp, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And we're doing basically life testing on the lights now
Yep.
on the Ghostbusters Ectomobile
Thing's
Haslab.
awesome.
And it's just all the maximalism of the 80s and the one roof rack at one place. But we've had it on for a really long time without turning it off, and there has been like no
Basically a lamp.
degradation.
I've been wanting them to be lamps since day one.
That you can keep it essentially plugged in and the lights on all the time. So it will have a function of keeping the lights on. Previous Haslabs did not have that function. The Ecto 1 Ghostbuster Haslab should have that function as well. So if you backed that one last year, that is something you should expect with your Ecto 1 so that you can keep those lights on all the time, which I think, that vehicle looks so much better when you can have all the sirens and everything on all the time. With the older Haslabs, you push the button and the lights stay on for a few minutes and then they go off automatically. It's not just the power source, but it's just the fact that there's not a way to keep the lights on all the time. But with the Snowcat and the Ecto 1, you will be able to keep the lights on all the time. And if you don't want to drain your batteries, you'll have that USB-C port that you can essentially keep it plugged in all the time and displayed on your shelf, which is what I definitely will plan to do. The electronics to me are just, if you can't keep them on all the time, then to me, they're really almost kind of pointless. But again, starting with the Snowcat and the Ecto 1, and I think we'll see that with pretty much all their Haslabs that have lights and such going forward, you will see that USB-C function. So that's definitely was a cool reveal. Also, I believe we're going to be getting a Hiss repaint, probably not as a Haslab, but maybe as a made to pre-order or maybe just as some type of store exclusive. But in that live stream last week, Emily and Lenny basically said that there was a hint to a Cobra Arctic vehicle in the original Snowcat launch video that they were going to be doing.
You can't be facing any kind of opposing Arctic vehicles.
We can't speak to future product,
So,
but I'd love to make some.
if you go back and watch the Haslab launch video for the Snowcat, there is a teaser Easter egg hidden in that launch video that may help to answer that question, which we are not allowed to verbalize out loud.
Go on, buy a whole division of Snowcats. See if I care. Destro, slap some white paint on those Hiss tanks and stingers. We're gonna have to dominate some
He
weather.
basically tells Destro to get a can of white paint and repaint the Hiss and the Stinger Jeep white. So I don't know if that means we'll get both those vehicles repainted, but they have done an Arctic Hiss in the past. So I definitely feel like, again, probably won't have all the electronics, won't be as expensive, won't be a Haslab. But for those of you who missed out on the Hiss tank, and they may do other colors as well, crimson and blue are strong possibilities, I would think, for repaints of the Hiss as well. But definitely, I feel like to take on your Snowcat, we're going to see some Cobra vehicles repainted in white to match up with your Hiss tank or with your Snowcat. Now, you don't really, you can have a regular colored Hiss tank go up against the Snowcat. I don't really think you need a white Hiss tank, but again, definitely seems like that is something Hasbro's going to be doing. So those were kind of interesting tidbits of information we got at the very last minute about the Snowcat and possible vehicles to go up against the Snowcat. I'm pretty happy with the way the Snowcat ended. I backed it myself. I was a little on the fence at first, but I decided to go on back it. I think it's a pretty cool vehicle. And I'll just have to try and find, I don't know if I'll be able to fit it back there with my other vehicles, but I'll find some place for it. All right, so that's all the news I have for you guys today. I will be back later this week. I don't know if it'll be Wednesday and or Friday, but at least one of those days this week, I will be doing a live stream going over the latest news. We'll talk more about that new Marvel Legend 2-pack reveal, plus, any other details that we might get on what we can expect from the Canadian Fan Expo this weekend. Hopefully I might have some content for you action figure enthusiast member only folks as well going up this week. So if you haven't become an action figure enthusiast member yet, please think about doing so and checking out the link in the video description below. But as always, guys, stay safe out there, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to toynewseye.com, marvelousnews.com, JediInsider.com, and tformers.com. And remember, action figures are great,